Education. Hebrew Kingdom Building.
All right, Shemot chapter 13, y'all ready? And we're going to skip down to verse what?
17.
Okay, y'all on it. Yeah, verse 17. Everybody there? His grill just kind of jacked up, huh? That's what they. His whole grill jacked up. All right, then it came to pass when Pharaoh had let the people go, that Elisha did not lead them by the way of the land of the Philistines, although that was near. For Elisha said, lest perhaps the people change their minds when they see war and return to Mitzrayim. So Pharaoh let the people go, but y'all know freedom, there's a cost to freedom, ain't there? He let you go, but now you basically got to fend for yourself now. And so that's why y'all got to understand this. That's why when you are freed, you got to know that war is coming. That's why when you get freed and deliverance, what do we tell you? The first thing you need to do, gird your loins and be ready, because they're coming for you. They're coming back. There's a cost to freedom. To be a free people, you got to be girded up and ready for war. That's how you keep your freedom, right? It's just like somebody who's in boxing or anything like that. Like, you might win the belt, but winning the belt, that's one thing, but it's another thing to actually be able to keep that belt, because everybody coming for that belt. And when you become free, it's one thing to become free, but to keep that freedom is another thing, because everybody coming for your freedom. Everybody. It's one thing to go through deliverance, but it's another thing to keep your deliverance, because everybody coming for that freedom. Every ruach under the sun gonna try to get in there. It might be the next day. There'll be people go through deliverance and be right back into bondage the next day. It's real. It's real. It's just like you know how it is in the what they call that, the justice system. Everybody coming for that freedom, huh? You get off log, you did your time, and it seems like it's way easier to go back than it is to stay out for a lot of people. They watching you like a hawk. And actually the vast majority end up going back. It's the same thing with deliverance. The vast majority of the people who go through deliverance end up going back into bondage. They do. So this is a rough graphic to kind of show that the difference, like they could have went the way of the Philistines, and that's the promised land right there. But Yahuwah took them a whole different way, because the Philistines wasn't no punk, that's one thing. The Most High would have delivered them in their hands though. But they weren't really ready mindset-wise. They would have got scared, basically. Is what the Most High went on and took them around a whole different way, where you had to actually go across the sea to get to this way. Ain't had to cross no sea. Egypt and the Promised Land. This was before the Suez Canal. You didn't have to cross no sea to get there. But Yahuwah took them around a whole different way to stay away from the Philistines. Yeah, the Philistines wasn't no punk at this time. So you talking about a serious detour. Serious detour. Because Yahuwah said, lest perhaps the people change their minds when they see war and return to Egypt. So Yahuwah led the people around by way of the wilderness of the Red Sea, and the children of Israel went up in what? So I'm telling you, as soon as you get out, as soon as you break free from freedom, you got to be, really the word that's there is not really orderly range. It says they left strapped, basically. That's really what that Hebrew word means. Like you strapped with the sword. They was ready. You know what I'm saying? They left as an army, basically. So orderly range, that's military language. That's what they're saying. They left and they was ready. But Yahuwah was still like, yeah, but the Philistines, yeah, nah. Let's go the other way, because they'll mess around and try to go back to Egypt. The first thing they do is run into the Philistines? Yeah, nah. I need to do some research, because I'm pretty sure that the Philistines was in bed with Egypt at this time. Pretty sure they were like an extension of Egypt. I gotta look it up though. Verse 19, and Moshe took the bones of Yosef with him, for he had placed the children of Israel under the solemn oath, saying, the Lord will surely visit you, and you shall carry up my bones from here with you. So they took their journey from Sukkot, and camped in Etham at the edge of the wilderness, and Yahuwah went before them by day to lead the way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light. It's really interesting, y'all. Like, that's why it's so important to be at COD and to be ready, because if you dealing with, that's why we kept talking about how you can't deal with doubt and fear and all that. Where we're going, you can't really be dealing with that. You're not going to be able to remain. You see what doubt and fear cause? Yeah, that's what it does. You start dealing with doubt and fear, the Most High had this great blessings for you, and he had the promised land waiting for you. He had the kingdom right there. But because you were dealing with doubt and fear, it's like, nope, backwards, go over here, go around there. And you're going to have to now go through a series of tests. You're going to have to go through a series of tests where I'm going to prove you and try you now. And a lot of people not going to make it. It's going to weed out a whole lot of people. Because he was dealing with doubt and fear. So Yahuwah led them by day in a pillar of cloud to lead the way, is verse 21. And Yahuwah went before them by day in a pillar of cloud and led to lead the way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light, so as to go by day and night. He did not take away the pillar of cloud by day or the pillar of fire by night from before the people. Test. Test, test. All right. A pillar of fire by day and a pillar of what by night? I mean, a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. I already give it away. All right, so this is a big deal, though. This is a big deal because you got a pillar of cloud that's during the day and a pillar of fire by night. Can somebody tell me why you think Yahuwah did that?
Cover and light.
Yeah, so amongst the Israelites, and you see it here in verse 21. It says, and Yahuwah went before them by day in a pillar of cloud to do what? To lead them the way, and by night in a pillar of fire to do what? To give them light. So that, and then it says to go by day and night. What do you think that means? So they can travel 24/7. They didn't deal with no nighttime. Y'all know how dark it get out there in the wilderness? They didn't deal with none of that. It was dark all around them, but amongst the Kodashim, there was light there. So it was like no darkness. They was just moving 24/7 when they had to move. But this is another aspect that is worth thinking about, man. It just really gives you an idea of Yahuwah's provision, man. Y'all gotta understand how the Most High is when it comes to His provision. You was able to, oh man, you figured it out? Oh, snap, Shamar, man, be on it. So, this is another aspect. I want y'all to really grasp the provision of Yahuwah and how He provides for His people. So think about it. You in the wilderness. So this is in the desert. This is in roughly around like the Arabian Peninsula. Roughly around the Arabian Peninsula. I know there's some debate around that. I don't really, there's a lot of debate around that. There's people that say that the Promised Land's in America. To me, that's super foolishness. A little bit more convincing is that the Promised Land is actually on the continent, in Africa. I don't hold to that though still, because one thing you can't get away from is Egypt. It's not debatable where Egypt is at all. And so keeping all that in mind, they were probably in the Arabian Peninsula like this map is showing. So keeping that in mind, and that's another thing too. No, I won't get into that. Yeah, I'll get into that. So the wilderness was a desert too. If they was in Africa, the parts of Africa that a lot of people believe they were in, that ain't no desert. That's plush, beautiful land full of vegetation. But when they were wandering in the wilderness, they were in the desert. It wasn't no vegetation. There wasn't nothing there. That's why the Most High had to rain down manna from heaven. There was nothing there. It was just sand. That fits this area perfectly. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is because it's very, very hot during the day, but it gets cold at night. As soon as the sun, that's how deserts are. Like even the desert out here, I remember we was in New Mexico for a while. It was like that in New Mexico. People were like, oh man, I bet it gets hot out there. Yeah, but it actually gets cold at night, every night. And so, like the West Coast, huh? So, why do I bring that up? The fire by night, man, gave them heat. Man, they had heat from Yahuwah at night to keep them warm. Ain't that crazy? Never thought about that. And think about how hot it is during the day. The cloud gave them shade. Yahuwah was giving them shade, y'all. That's y'all crazy, man. Yahuwah was giving them shade. Because he could have used, think about it, he could have used anything for them to follow him on. It could have been anything, a whirlwind or something, and anything. But a cloud, ain't no better shade than some cloud cover. Yahuwah's amazing, y'all. Just want y'all to really realize the level of provision and protection that He gave to them while they was in the wilderness, y'all. You know, you're talking 100+ degree weather during the daytime out there. But he had a pillar of cloud giving them shade throughout that time there. And then when it got cold at night, I mean, that's very specific. So they didn't have to figure that out. They didn't have to figure that out or try to, you know, get wood or try to, you know, there ain't no wood out there. This is the serious wilderness. This is just the desert. Hallelujah. So I want to hone in on pillar. Pillar. The Hebrew word for pillar is amud. Amud. Ayin, Mem, Yod, Dalet. H5982. And it's really about experiencing security in Yahusha from chaos that's going on outside. So it's about experiencing security in Yahusha from the chaos going on outside. We were just talking about that earlier today, huh? Experiencing that security, having that security in Yahusha. Security from the chaos that's going on outside. That's going on all around us. That's the connotation of a pillar. So Yahuwah had them set up a pillar of cloud and fire for them. But, you know, experiencing security in Yahusha from the chaos that's going on outside. Experiencing security in Yahusha from the chaos that's going on all around you. See, in Yahusha you'll find rest for your souls. You'll find shalom. There's security. There's refuge in Yahusha. There's refuge in Yahuwah. There's refuge in the door. Let's look at some scriptures. Because the pillars are what's used to hold up the house, aren't they? As well. It's the same word, a mood. Same word for a pillar of fire and cloud. Somebody saw pillars with water. I remember that.
That was President Payette?
We too. No, it's okay. I think we too. All right, Yirmiyahu 1:17. I put it on the screen. I try to put more scriptures on the screen for y'all, so I don't have to flip as much. But therefore, prepare yourself. So this is Yirmiyahu 1. This is when Yahuwah was calling Yirmiyahu when he was young. He said, therefore, prepare yourself and arise and speak to them all that I command you. Do not be dismayed before their faces, lest I dismay you before them. For behold, I have made you this day a fortified city and a what? Y'all know that's what Yahuwah did with Rebirth ATX. He had made Rebirth ATX to be like an iron pillar. For behold, I have made you this day a fortified city and an iron pillar, and bronze walls against the whole land, against the kings of Judah, against its princes, against its priests, and against the people of the land. They will fight against you, but they shall not prevail against you. For I am with you, says Yahuwah, to what?
Deliver you.
It's a pillar. Yirmiyahu was a pillar. He was like an iron pillar. He was that's unmovable, and you know, you're unshakable. You're strong. You fortified. People may come against you, but they can't do nothing to you. They won't prevail because you are moving as a pillar. He has made us to be upright and firm, y'all. This is the role of Israel. This is the role of the nation. The nation of Israel is supposed to be like a pillar. One of the names that Yahuwah called Israel was Yeshurun. Y'all ever heard of that? Which means upright. That's like a pillar. Yeshurun. Upright, firm. This is in the Brit Hadashah, Galatim chapter 2. Galatim chapter 2, Brit Hadashah. And when James, Cephas, and John, who seemed to be what? So y'all can see that pillars can be people. You saw that with Yirmiyahu, and you see that here with even the apostles. When James, Cephas, and John, who seemed to be pillars, perceived the grace that had been given to me, that gave me and Barnabas the right hand of fellowship, that we should go to the nations, and they to the circumcised. They're talking about the Israelites. They desired only that we should remember the poor, the very thing which I also was eager to do. So he was talking about when he got the green light from Peter and all that, because he's saying when he was saying that they seemed to be pillars, they were the ones who kept the house. They were the leaders of the house. You know, that's what keeps the house from falling, is the pillars. That's what keeps the house from falling. You get what I'm saying? And so the leadership in the assembly are considered pillars. The leaders in the assembly are considered pillars, in a sense. So, I'll give you all an example. The chiefs, you can consider them to be pillars, because they hold up the nation. It's interesting, I don't know if y'all noticed this, but did y'all see that Peter, James, and John, their ministry was to the Israelites? That's what they're saying here. This is what Paul is saying, that we should go to the Gentiles. So Paul was his ministry was to the nations, but it said, and they to the circumcised. We've been saying for years that, man, like when you read like James, when you read like 1 Peter, 2 Peter, all those letters are to Israelites. They're not talking about everybody on there. But I just wanted to point that out, because that's another just proof verse showing that was their ministry, was to the Israelites, to the lost tribes. All right, let's keep going. Oh. This is supposed to be Revelation. That's a typo. Russian. That's Revelation chapter 3, I believe. Revelation chapter 3. Right? Verse 7? Yeah. And to the Malak of the assembly, and where?
Philadelphia.
I think there's something to that, because who's in the Super Bowl? Remember we've been talking about that?
Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah. And to the Malak of the assembly in Philadelphia write, these things say he who is holy, he who is true, he who has the what? Key of David. That's rebirth of a nation. The Eagles. The Eagles. The two Eagles. Two chiefs. And to the Malak of the assembly in Philadelphia write, these things say he who is holy, he who is true, he who has the key of David, he who opens and no one shuts, and shuts and no one opens. I know your works. See, I have set before you an open what? I have set before you an open what? Do y'all remember the word for pillar? A mood, you know, it's about being secure to the door, secure to Yahusha, experiencing the security in Yahusha from the chaos going on outside. So keep that in mind. Let's look at this again. Revelation 3. I know your works. See, I have set before you an open door. Because why? That's where the refuge is, being secure to the door, secure to Yahusha. That's where the refuge is from the chaos going on outside. That's what the word pillar means. The breakdown, a mood. That's why the leadership are looked at as pillars, because in a sense, they're your way into the house. They're your way into the house. Most of y'all who are here now, y'all had to go through either me or the chiefs or somebody like that to come into the house. You get what I'm saying? So that's another aspect. I know your work. See, I have set before you an open door, and no one can shut it. For you have a little strength, have kept my word, and have not denied my name. Indeed, I will make those of the assembly of Hasatan. Indeed, I will make those of the assembly of Hasatan who say they are Yahudim and are not, but lie. Indeed, I will make them come and worship before your feet, and to know that I have loved you, because you have kept my command to persevere. Now listen to this. This is our mood. I also will keep you from the hour of trial which shall come upon the whole world. That's a mood. That's a mood. Experiencing the security in Yahusha from the chaos that's going on around outside. Y'all see what I'm saying? I will also keep you from the hour of trial which shall come upon the whole world to test those who dwell on the earth. Behold, I am coming quickly. I'm coming in haste. Hold fast what you have, that no one may take your crown. He who overcomes, I will make him what? See, that's why knowing the breakdown of these letters is important. Then you'll really understand a lot better what Yahusha is saying in a lot of, and the other writers in the Brit Hadashah are saying in a lot of ways, but especially in the Psalms too. You know, like Melech Dawid. See, that's why this is about Dawid. You know, he's talking about the key of David. Talking about the key of David. This is assembly of Philadelphia. It was a righteous assembly, man. The Eagles. And we have the Philadelphia Eagles that are going to be in the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl? In Revelation, they have something that's called the bowl judgments. The bowl judgments. Now, ain't no, that's a Super Bowl right there. And if y'all look at the bowl judgments, and it's in Revelation 16. Look at that in your own time. But if you look at the bowl judgments, it's basically the bowl judgments are plagues that are going to be poured out on the nations that are a lot of them are very similar to the plagues that Yahuwah had poured out on Mizraim. It's like the swords turn water into blood. You know, very similar, a lot of similar plagues. They are called the bowl judgments. And I believe it's Revelation chapter 16. And I do believe that we're probably going to see some stuff go down after the Super Bowl is some sort of time marker. It's some sort of sign of major judgments rolling out. Major judgments rolling out. All right. So if you didn't know the Hebrew breakdown of pillar, you would know that this whole verse up in here was talking about pillar. This whole thing. He who overcomes, I will make him a pillar in the temple of Ma'aluah. And he shall go out no more. I will write on him the name of Ma'aluah and the name of the city of Ma'aluah, the new Yerushalayim, which comes down out of heaven from Ma'aluah, and I will write on him my new name. It's he who overcomes. It's he who perseveres. Because if you overcome and you persevere, then you won't have to go to the time of trial where the Most High is going to be testing the whole earth. So overcome now, persevere now. Then you won't have to deal with the major judgments that are coming, where you will have to overcome and persevere probably a whole lot more. That's why I really believe that's why the Most High is like because we're so at this point that we're in, it's like nah. If you still falling into certain things, you gotta go. You still dealing because you're not persevering. You're not overcoming at all. And so you just got to deal with, the trials that are coming on the earth, and you can still make it, but it's probably going to be harder. It's going to be some serious trials and tests. So I want to encourage y'all to overcome, persevere. Don't fall for temptation. Don't fall into iniquity. Ain't nothing worth missing out on this. He's talking to an assembly here. He's talking to an assembly here, y'all. It's Revelation 3. Y'all, don't look at that. It's Revelation 3. He's talking to an assembly. He said, he who overcomes, he who perseveres. So that means actually the leader of the assembly don't get to make the call on who stays and who gets removed. That's Yahushua who do that. So y'all got to understand that. Don't fall for nothing. Y'all don't do nothing. If you got to stay in the house, don't do nothing. Don't do it. It's way too serious. Ain't nothing worth missing this. Let's keep going. All right. Timothy is Rishon. 1 Timothy. Chapter 3, verse 15. But if I am delayed, I write so that you may know how you ought to conduct yourself in the house of Eluah, which is the assembly of the living Eluah, the pillar. So now it's called the whole assembly the pillar. The pillar and ground of the Torah. The pillar and ground of the truth. And without controversy, great is the mystery of godliness. See, I didn't think they called this the truth in the scriptures. They did. But yeah, the Most High made this assembly to be that, to be a pillar. All right, let's go to Shemot 14. Yeah, it's a lot of stuff going crazy, man. They talking about some weird thing about a China balloon or something, man.
A weather balloon.
They said it was a weather balloon.
I think it's 2 of them now.
Yep.
Yeah, they said they found another one.
2 of them.
You got to read between the lines, man, on the news, though. Boy, the way they talking, it's like... Because they was like, yeah, we're not going to... Didn't they say they're not going to do nothing about it? They're just going to let it fly? Like, what? Like, man, what? Yeah, that's very fishy. Y'all got to read between the lines, man, when y'all looking at the news.
You should watch that movie.
They said it was surveillance for you.
All right. So, Shemot 14. We'll skip to... All right, let's skip to verse 13. Y'all ready? And Moshe said unto the people, fear ye not, stand still and see the salvation of Yahuwah, which he will show you today. For the Mitzrites whom ye have seen today, ye shall see them again no more forever. Yahuwah shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your shalom. And Yahuwah said unto Moshe, that's the King James. Let's do that. Okay. Yahuwah will fight for you, and you shall hold your shalom. And Yahuwah said to Moshe, why do you cry to me? Tell the children of Israel to go forward. But lift up your rod and stretch out your hand over the sea and divide it. And the children of Israel shall go on dry ground through the midst of the sea. And I indeed will harden the hearts of the Egyptians, and they shall follow them. So I will gain honor over Pharaoh and over all his army, his chariots and his horsemen. So then the Egyptians shall know that I am Yahuwah when I have gained honor for myself over Pharaoh, his chariots, and his horsemen. Y'all see how the Most High will give you over to certain things just to destroy you in front of everybody? Yahuwah will give you over to yourself just so he can destroy you in front of everybody. That's what he did to Pharaoh and the Egyptians. Pharaoh and them were about to let the Israelites go once they left, especially after the destroyer came through and killed all them people in Egypt. They was ready to let them go. But Yahuwah was like, yeah, I'm going to harden his heart again. He wanted to destroy them in front of everybody. Y'all got to understand that when Yahuwah did this to Egypt was the... See, this is what you do. Y'all got to think about this. If you want to be the top dog in any situation, what you do is you come for the biggest, baddest person in the block, on the block. If you want to be the top dog, you got to come for the biggest, baddest person on the block, and you got to whoop them. That's what Yahuwah did. The Egyptians was the biggest, baddest people on the block during this time. There was no nation like Egypt at this time. They were a world power. This is America is Egypt now. This is Babylon and Egypt.
That's right.
Egypt was the strongest military power. They had the strongest military might. They had they were the most technologically advanced. The list goes on and on and on and on. Everybody, no one could come against Egypt during this time. So you got to understand that when Yahuwah did this to Egypt, you just got to imagine if Yahuwah did that to America. Just imagine. If Yahuwah did that to America, the whole world would know. It would be on every news station. It would be, man, everybody would be fearing the Israelites. Man, nah, we ain't trying to mess with them, man. You know what I'm saying? You see what they Yahuwah did to Egypt? Man, nah, man, we just need to stay in our own lane and mind our business. That's what happened, for real. All the nations didn't want to deal with Egypt. Y'all saw this even in the book of Joshua. When they were about to go into the promised land, and they had the spies go through there, that girl was like, oh man, you part of the Israelites? Oh snap, nah, you finna come and destroy us. Your Lord just destroyed Egypt. Yahuwah, that's why Yahuwah did them the way that he did them. So all would fear Yahuwah. All would fear Yahuwah, amongst the nations as well. All right. Verse 19, and the Malach of Yahuwah went before the camp of Israel, moved and went behind them. So the Malach of Yahuwah, who went before the camp of Israel, moved and went behind them, and the pillar of cloud went from before them and stood behind them. So I talked about this before, that so it came between the camp of the Egyptians and the camp of Israel. Thus it was a cloud and darkness to the one, and it gave light by night to the other, so that the one did not come near the other all that night. So Yahuwah separated the light from the darkness right here. Just like in the creation week, we talked about this last year. Then Moshe stretched out his hand over the sea, and Yahuwah caused the sea to go back by a strong east wind all that night. Y'all see that? So this took all night. This wasn't like, you know, you watch the movies and Moshe goes, and then like a big force you just start seeing the sea the ocean do like this. All right, let's go, y'all, let's go. And then they start walking, and it's like water right here, and then it's like water right there. It'd be like a little well. Yo, that's not what happened. That's not how that went down. If you read the Torah carefully, it was a wind that had to blow all night. So the Most High had separated them with a cloud, so they couldn't deal with them. They couldn't mess with them while all that was happening. Y'all gotta keep in mind, man. Yahuwah sent them this whole other way, and they're camping. They in camp because they at the water. They free You know, they're probably excited. Man, I can't believe it, man. Y'all, man, we actually free, man. Ain't no, man, you know what I'm saying? They wake up in the boat, man, look, I'm waking up, and guess what? I don't gotta make no bricks. I ain't gotta, you feel what I'm saying, man? This is, I'm with this. I'm loving this. Yahuwah's too, man. Yahuwah's told. They was probably excited, man. People probably had butterflies in their stomach. Children probably happy. Then all of a sudden, man, you hear the horses going. You hear the horse. They had. Because see, one thing about Egypt, Egypt was very, very, very known for being a nation of horses and chariots. They were the most technologically advanced nation in the world, in the known world at this time. And part of that top technology was their level of chariots and horses was on another level than anybody else. It's kind of like the U.S. was like the first people to do airplanes. The U.S. was the first people to have like atom bombs. You know what I'm saying? Egypt, they really they weren't the first ones to have horses for military, but they really championed it though. It was just their level of horsemanship as far as for war was superior to anybody else around. Nobody was even close to them. Let's go to Deuteronomy 17. Yeah. And let me know when y'all get there. We'll start with verse 14. Deuteronomy 17, verse 14. Let me know when y'all get there. Deuteronomy 17, verse 14. All right, we there? When you come to the land which Yahuwah your Eluah is giving you, and possess it and dwell. This is the Torah for kings, right? And possess it and dwell in it, and say, I will set a king over me like all the nations that are around me. You shall surely set a king over you, whom Yahuwah your Eluah chooses, one from among your brethren you shall set as king over you. You may not set a foreigner over you who is not your brother. We talked about this 100 times. So that means Joe Biden you should not be voting for. Verse 16. But he shall not multiply horses for himself, nor cause the people to return where? To multiply horses. For Yahuwah has said to you, you shall not return that way again. This is in Devarim. They're still in the wilderness when this Torah came out. Why do they say that? Why does it say you shall not multiply horses nor cause the people to return to Egypt? It's because Egypt was the place where you would multiply horses at. That was the place to get them horses war trained, battle hardened horses you could get that will ride out on people. You know what I'm saying? Yahuwah didn't want the Israelites to multiply horses. So Melech Dawid was basically the champion of that. He went to war without horses. That's why y'all don't really never hear about Melech Dawid coming down, drawing down on nobody on no horse, riding a horse. Man, he just rode up on people. He was on foot or something like that. And when he would plunder another nation and get their horses, he would hamstring them. There was one time, I think it was one scripture, he had whooped the nation and he hung strong. Like, I don't think it was like thousands of horses or something, you know, because it's crazy, because it's like, dang, you could have took them and used them for, for war, but Yahuwah did not. David was so righteous, that was against Torah. That's why he never did that. He would just kill them. He would hamstring and basically make it to where they can't do nothing. He basically would just kill them. I think that kills them. Yeah. And so, because it was against Torah. Because Yahuwah, I really submit, because Yahuwah wanted the armies of Israel to fully depend on him, not on any technology. Any horses or chariots, none of that. Nope. Just pull up on them. Pull up on them with the sword. I'm going to bring my malak to go before you, and I'm going to deliver the enemies into your hands. And that's how it was. David would whoop nations who was with horses and chariots and everything. David would run up on them and just whoop them. and then hamstring all the horses. So when it says for a king not to multiply horses, I used to think, oh yeah, he's just not supposed to own horses. That's not what they're talking about. No, Yahuwah was talking about multiplying horses for war, depending on other things other than him when you're in this war situation. You get what I'm saying? So that's why I want to bring that up, because he talks about not returning to Egypt. That's why you saw Egypt running up with horses and chariots. And it might even have an aspect of that with it, why Yahuwah didn't want us to do that. Because he's like, man, that's how your oppressors was trying to kill you, coming up with horses and stuff. So no, you're not to do that. That might have been an aspect to it. All right, let's go back to Exodus. Hallelujah. All right, and what we're going to do, we're going to go to verse 21, okay? Exodus 14, verse 21. Then Moshe stretched out his hand over the sea, and Yahuwah caused the sea to go back by a strong east wind all that night, and made the sea into dry land, and the waters were divided. So the children of Israel went into the midst of the sea on the dry ground, and the waters were a wall to them on their right hand and on their left. So they went on dry land, they went on dry ground. This is the same thing that Yahuwah did in the creation week as well, didn't he? Didn't he separate the waters from the waters and cause dry land to appear? So it's a whole thing here. This is just creation week being played out over again in the Exodus story. Because what this is showing you is this is a reset happening. That's all the creation week was a reset, a new beginning. Like a new heaven and a new earth. So the Most High was made, it was a new age that was started. It's like a new heaven and a new earth starting here. So that's why you see all the similar things there. Even when he separated the light from the darkness, as I said, that's what he did on day one. Yahuwah did. He said, let there be light. And it said he called the light day and the dark night. And he separated the light from the darkness. And he did the same thing. He had a pillar of cloud that was dark on one side and that was light on the other. And then he with an east wind, he separated the waters from the waters and caused dry land to appear. All right. Let's keep going. All right, what verse we on? 22. So the children of Israel went into the midst of the sea on dry ground, and the waters were walled them to the right and to the left. All right, 23. And the Egyptians pursued and went after them into the midst of the sea. All Pharaoh's horses, his chariots, and his horsemen. So maybe that's why Dawid was like that. He was moving like Yahuwah, like, yeah, I'm going to just kill everybody and kill their horses too. It's like the Most High did. Verse 24. Now it came to pass in the Boker watch that Yahuwah looked down upon the army of the Mitzrites through the pillar of fire and cloud. And he troubled the army of the Mitzrites. And he took off their chariot wheels. Dang, so that they drove them with difficulty. That's what happens, y'all. I'm telling y'all, when you try to move on stuff, when the Most High told you to let go of, he start making it a lot harder for you. I mean, he make it a lot harder for you. You'll start experiencing unnecessary difficulties because you're going against the grain, you're going against what Yahuwah wants you to do, and you're not letting go what he tells you to let go of. It's a vain pursuit. A vain pursuit. You're pursuing worldly things instead of pursuing him. And so now things are getting harder. All right. Verse 25. And they took off their chariot wheels so that they drove them with difficulty. And the Egyptians said, let us flee from the face of Israel, for Yahuwah fights for them against the Egyptians. Then Yahuwah said to Moshe, stretch out your hand over the sea, that the waters may come back upon the Egyptians, on their chariots, and on their horsemen. That was a bad deal right there, boy. And Moshe stretched out his hand over the sea, and when the Boker appeared, the sea returned to its full depth, while the Egyptians were fleeing into it. So Yahuwah overthrew the Egyptians in the midst of the sea, and then the waters returned and covered the chariots, the horsemen, and all the army of Pharaoh that came into the sea after them. Not so much as one of them remained. Not one of them remained. But the children of Israel had walked on dry land in the midst of the sea, and the waters were a wall to them on their right hand and on their left. So Yahuwah saved Israel that day out of the hand of the Mitzrites, or the Egyptians. And Israel saw the Egyptians dead on the seashore. So they just saw bodies washing up. Thus Israel saw the great work which Yahuwah had done in Mitzrayim. So the people feared Yahuwah and believed Yahuwah and his servant Moshe.
They shot down one of those balloons, Murray.
Oh, they shot it down?
One of them, yeah.
Man, they got some whole other stuff, man.
Yeah.
You gonna hold it for me? You got this? Let's do it. All right.
70-mile-per-hour wind gusts tore through Sarasota with Hurricane Irma hit the area this morning. 60% of people in Sarasota County do not have power. The storm system was so strong that it caused the water to disappear in both Sarasota Bay and further up the coast in Tampa Bay. Carter Evans is in Sarasota with how this rare weather phenomenon happened. Carter, what happened? Good morning.
Good morning. You can see right now, Sarasota Bay pretty much filled to the brim. All this water came rushing back yesterday when the center of the storm passed over us, but it was a very different scene for most of yesterday all along the coastline. For Floridians used to living along the coast, Irma provided an unusual sight Sunday, a dry shoreline.
I've never seen it empty like this before. I've seen it flooded plenty of times. I've never seen nothing like this.
Waterways receded as the storm picked up steam. The force of the approaching hurricane is so strong that despite all this ocean spray, it's actually sucked a lot of the water out of Sarasota Bay. It was a similar picture across the region, thanks to a mix of Irma's fierce counterclockwise winds and low atmospheric pressure.
So this is happening because the winds are pushing the water away from these bays as the storm is passing. As the storm passes to the north, the winds shift and they push all the water back into the bays.
Normally, the water is up to the step.
Robert Burchard had to check out the scene for himself in Sarasota.
I've never seen the grass. I've never seen any of that before. I just was surprised.
The tide was so low, 2 manatees became stranded in the sludge and had to be rescued. And in Tampa Bay, authorities warned about the dangers of venturing out onto the seafloor. Since the water could return at any moment.
It's not like a tsunami that would be where the water gets sucked in and then comes back as a big wall. This gradually rises up. Rather quickly, though.
Now, we just passed high tide a couple of hours ago, and it's not clear if the storm surge is complete. Authorities warned about the dangers of venturing out on the sea.
So y'all see how they playing on the beach? That's not a beach, that was the ocean.
Since the water could return.
That's probably how it looked when the Israelites was walking on dry ground.
This gradually rises.
And look what they said here. They warned them not to do that because look what they said.
Since the water could return at any moment.
Y'all see that? Because with that phenomenon, the water could return at any moment. And if you're too far out, you'll get killed. Like the water will return fast when it returns. Because that's literally the middle, that's like the ocean. That's dry ground. And it's because that was a phenomenon that happens with certain hurricanes, which is what, a strong wind. It'll cause it'll be dry ground. And because you're talking about 2 to 3 million people. You see what I'm saying? Talking about 2 to 3 million people. So just take a look at some of the I want y'all to look at this part. We'll just read it all. All right, the logistics of the Exodus. Moses and the people were in the desert, but what was he going to do with them? They had to be fed, and feeding 2 to 3 million people requires a lot of food. So, y'all got to remember that they came out of here and they didn't have no plan. Moshe didn't have no plan. The people needed 2,000 tons, 4 million pounds of food each day. To bring that much food each day would require 3 freight trains, each a mile long. I'm skipping this part because they didn't need that. This is from an article. They didn't need no firewood to cook because that's why, to cook. Okay, I was thinking, to keep warm. They didn't need that to keep warm because that's probably why the pillar of fire was there. But let's go on this one. It says, of course they needed water. If they only had enough to drink and wash a few dishes, it would take 11 million gallons each day. And a freight train with tank cars, 1,800 miles long just to bring water. We don't be thinking about this type of stuff, of what it took for Yahuwah to provide, but we be worried about the Most High providing for us. Man. And then another thing, they had to get across the Red Sea. That's what they mean by the Yom Suf, it's the Sea of Reeds. And they had to get across the Red Sea in one night. If they went on a narrow path, double file, because that's what the movie showed, it'd be like a double file line. The line would be 800 miles long and would require 35 days and nights to get through. So there had to have been an opening in the Red Sea 3 miles wide so that they can walk 5,000 abreast to get over in one night. Side by side. So it had to look probably more like what we was looking at. It wasn't like just like a narrow way that was dry and you walk through. No. The whole thing had to been dry. You know what I'm saying? I know it says that there was a wall of water on the left and to the right. That's still true. But the ground was dry as far as the eyes can see. It had to have been for them to be able to cross over in one night. You get what I'm saying?
That's not even including livestock.
Yeah. And then they're not gonna be able to like run or nothing like that, so they walking. They walking. Think about the campground size. I didn't think about that. Each time they camped at the end of the day, they needed a campground 2/3 the size of the state of Rhode Island, about 750 square miles. They journeyed in the desert 40 years. Do you think Moshe worked all this out before he left Egypt? Y'all got to think about this, man. This stuff is wild. We don't be looking at this stuff. We just be reading this stuff like it's a story. Not realizing there was real things that was going on that Yahuwah had to do in order for them to survive out there, man. It was a lot that Yahuwah had to do in order for them to survive, man. A lot. A lot. So when you read about chapter 16 with the manna, you realize how big of a deal that was. That was a lot of manna. That was a lot of manna. That's why there was so much murmuring too. Now y'all see why there was so much murmuring? They don't know day to day what was going to happen. They didn't know, they just out there in the desert, no food, no, they don't really know what to do. And so now the Most High had them go, as soon as they crossed over, the Most High had them go 3 days with no water. So that's why they start murmuring like, oh man, you brought us out here just so we can get killed in the wilderness. Where's the water? Where's the water, Moshe? Like, because he's the one who led them out. So they all turned. That's why now y'all see why Moshe was so irritated, why it made him so angry. In the Torah portion we read for this week, I think they might have complained about 3 times. Because the Most High just kept testing. The Most High kept doing. Most High something else. I think it was another time there wasn't no food. Yeah, that's when he rained the manna down. There wasn't no food. And they go into Moshe, Moshe, so what's up? Where the food, Moshe? What's good? You said you told us to come out here. And it ain't even no food, Moshe was like, man, Moshe, they about to stone me out here. Go back to Exodus 14 and look at verse 31. Verse 30. It says, so Yahuwah saved Israel that day out of the hands of the Egyptians, and Israel saw Egyptians dead. Where? The word came out, y'all. We gotta tighten up. Stuff about to hit the fan. This is a sign with the Super Bowl stuff. The word came out. The next thing you know, the freeze hits, right? I think the freeze started hitting that day, didn't it? The freeze starts hitting that day, but something weird happened during this freeze that never happened since I've been in Austin, ever. We had plenty of freezes in Austin. This ain't never happened. Matter of fact, the freeze in 2020 was way more severe than this one. That didn't happen. Did nothing like that happen. But somehow this freeze, branches were just being broken off of the trees. Everywhere. How? We're talking major trees. Like these are 100-year-old trees. You saw how thick them branches? How does ice do that? I've never seen nothing like that. That is not normal. That is not normal. And so at the assembly, you had a whole bunch of trees. The majority were on the side of the house, branches that broke off. They were all in one place on the side of the house, and you know what? It was by the neighbor's house. It was so much by the neighbor's house that even one of the neighbor's trees had broken, even the little gate that connects us to the neighbor's house, didn't it? That's about judgment on the other nations. That's about body counts being, so much so that whole lineages. The branch is a sign of a lineage, y'all. The branch was a sign of a whole lineage being broke off the tree, a whole bloodline gone, never to return. This stuff is on a whole nother level. So while the Most High is redeeming our bloodlines and confirming and extending our lineages, he's literally cutting off. He's going to be cutting off lineages from the face of the earth, man, where whole bloodlines are going to be cut off. When that happened in Mitzrayim, do y'all know that the Most High cut off bloodlines, man, in Egypt? We just be thinking about individuals when we talk about the destroyer coming and how he killed all the firstborn. No, that was war against a whole lineage. That was war against lineages, I should say. That was against branches. The Most High did that. He caused Pharaoh and them to continue to pursue the Israelites. It said there was not one left. So all the firstborn were already killed back in Mitzrayim. Then those who were left, who might not have been firstborn, who were old enough to fight, they went to war. He had them to come and pursue and kill everybody in the water. It's just like Noah. Ain't that what he did with Noah? He killed the whole lineages. He killed everything using the water, using the flood waters. That's a major sign, y'all. Don't no ice do that, y'all. Everybody gonna walking around like that's just normal or something. Nah, y'all. That's not ice. Don't do that. The winter storm 2 years ago, I'm talking about, had ice out of nowhere. There was so much ice on our trees and stuff. It was crazy, and it didn't do nothing like that. Nothing like that. Y'all, we were riding down Detours, a major road. Detours, a major road. There were branches all in the street. You couldn't even do. You had to like go at the edge so you won't hit none of the branches. I had went out there during the freeze. The freeze was still going on to pick up the boys real quick. Branches all in the streets. So the majority of the branches were on the side of the house. So now that I say that, let's look at it again. But take out the sound. Let's do that. Yeah.
You got this.
Yes. Boom. There we go. So the front yard had major branches in it too. You know what I'm saying? And I do the front yard. That's what I forgot to get into. The front yard is those who are of Israel, but they're like not in the truth. Those who are of Israel but didn't heed the word, they're not in the truth. So that'd be like your family members and stuff, you know what I'm saying, who didn't heed the word. There's going to be a lot of judgments on people who are of Israel but just didn't heed the instructions, you know what I'm saying? That's what the front yard symbolizes. But the side, that's the other that's the heathen, that's the nations. You see, whole major branches. That was the biggest branch was on the side. In the front, it was mostly twigs. The front yard was mostly twigs, so the branch stayed, but it was like offshoots of the branches what was falling off. You see what I'm saying? That's why even here the neighbors, that's what's showing you this was about the other nations. Y'all know them neighbors were doing a whole seance the other Shabbat. It don't get no more of the other nations than them people that stay over there. But the backyard, it was just cleared. You know, the backyard have more trees, but y'all know the backyard got more trees than the front yard. Clear, y'all. Nothing. Yahuwah is speaking. I want y'all to really understand this. There was nothing that happened back there. I think it might have been some small twigs, maybe. I didn't see anything. I didn't notice anything. But this lines up with dreams the Most High was showing us before. Because it wasn't just one dream. I just named two of them, but there were more about eating grapes on the side of the house, or, you know, it was always be on the side of the house, and I was trying to figure that out. You know what I'm saying? But it's about the judgment that is coming to the other nations. Man, death tolls rising big time, like whole lineages, whole bloodlines, just like that's what happened in Mitzrayim. Hallelujah? Hallelujah. All right. Let's keep going. So let's go to Shemot chapter 15. All right. So now you have Mitzrayim being destroyed. Egypt was destroyed, right? So now it's a celebration. It's a celebration. Oh, we free, we free. All praise to the Most High. And what they go into praise and worship. They go into praise and worship. Then you go to the verse. Oh, I forgot to put the verse on there. It's verse 20. So they had this song they were singing, and then in verse 20 it says, then Miriam the prophetess, prophetess of Nabiah, the sister of Aharon. You know, it's the first time that prophetess was even mentioned in the scriptures. That's her. The sister of Aharon, she took the djembe in her hand, and all the women went out where? After her. She was a leader in the nation. She went out and started playing the timbrel with dances, and all the Akio went and followed her. And you could just imagine her going in and all the Akio following her. Y'all can imagine how happy and how joyful Miriam had to be to witness this. Because it was Miriam who actually saw, Miriam had to have been a lot older than Musha. She saw it. If I remember right, she was the one who actually released Musha in the river to save him. Because they was trying to kill him. Yeah. She watched the babies being killed. She saw that. So much so, she had to escape her brother up out of there. And throw him in a Nile and hope he'll be all right. Put him in a daubed with pitch in the ark. And she got to see the salvation of Yahuwah. She got to see the vengeance on them to where they got done just like they did them babies. Yahuwah did it to where they got done the same way. Y'all drowned all them babies. Okay. Boom. All right, let the water go on them. Boom. They got done the same way. Man, can y'all imagine that? Ain't nothing like the vengeance of Yahuwah, man. When he avenges his people. And so they were praising, they were worshiping, they were praising the Most High for the victory. That's what you should do. Is when Yahuwah gives you a victory and he delivered your enemies into your hands, you praise him for that. You worship him for that. Let's go to chapter 16. So I did do a lesson on the new moon, the Shabbat moons thing. That the right, y'all watched it? Yeah. So in Exodus 12, that's why I'm gonna put it in the part 2, but I want to point this out to y'all though, as Mishpachah. So Exodus 12, it says, Now Yahuwah spoke to Moshe and Aharon in the land of Mitzrayim, saying, This month shall be your beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. Speak to all the congregation of Israel, saying, On the 10th of this month, every man shall take for himself a lamb, and he get into Pesach, right? But you know, in order for Yahuwah to show them how to keep Pesach and what date to do it, he had to show them what? The moon cycle. He let them know this is the beginning of the month. He gave them a calendar. Do y'all know that this is before they even came out of Egypt? Do y'all know this was even before the plague of the firstborn? Yahuwah gave them the calendar. He said, okay, I'm letting you know this is Rosh Kodesh, basically. That is the head of the month. This is the Rosh Kodesh, the head of the month, beginning of the month. And he also let them know that this is the beginning of the year for you. And then he started, so basically, this is what I want to show y'all. I know that y'all already understand this stuff, but this is important for y'all to know, so that if y'all deal with somebody on this, y'all have something to tell them. Y'all have stuff to bring to them. Do y'all know if the Shabbat was supposed to be based off of the moon, wouldn't you think Yahuwah would have started talking about the days of the week here? Ain't it interesting? He didn't mention nothing about no days of the week, huh? So he showed them the moon cycle and didn't show them the Shabbat yet. He showed them how to keep Pesach. He showed them the date. He showed them all that. Showed them what Rosh Kodesh is, all that. And didn't mention nothing about Shabbat. They didn't know about it yet. Not at this time. Not at this time. It wasn't until way later. If the moon is tied to the Shabbat, that should have been lined up together right here. This should have been, okay, this is the beginning of the month, then you count 6 days, and the 7th day is a Shabbat for you to rest. And you're to rest, and you're to keep a Shabbat, and then that would make all the sense in the world. Why get into the moon cycle but not touch on the weekly cycle? Because they're two different things. They're two totally independent things. It wasn't until we get into chapter 16, much later. Now we get into chapter 16, much later, way after. This is now the plague of the firstborn happened. Now, you know, Most High turns water into dry ground, destroys the Mitzrites. You're talking way later. Now they're journeying in the wilderness. And then we get to Exodus 16. Y'all ready? Chapter 16. It says, And they journeyed from Elim, and all the congregation of the children of Israel came to the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of when? The 2nd month after they departed from the land of Mitzrayim. So Yahuwah gave them the moon cycle. but didn't even touch on the week till 2 months later? They didn't keep no Shabbat yet. This is 2 months later. A lot of people don't really notice this stuff. Verse 2, then the whole congregation of children of Israel complained against Moshe and Aaron in the wilderness. And the children of Israel said to them, oh, that we had died by the hand of Yahuwah in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the pots of meat, and when we ate the bread to the full. For you have brought us out into this wilderness to kill the whole assembly with hunger. The Most High made them go hungry again to test them. And they failed. It's like they failed it every time. This 2 months after he just killed all of the Egyptians. Verse 4, then Yahuwah said to Moshe, behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a certain quota every day, that I may what? Nasah, test them, prove them. Nasah, whether they will walk in my Torah or not. And it shall be on the 6th day that they shall prepare what they bring in, and it shall be twice as much as they gather daily. Then Moshe and Aaron said to all the children of Israel that Erev, you shall know that Yahuwah has brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim. And in the Boker you shall see the glory of Yahuwah, for he hears your complaints against Yahuwah. But what are we that you complain against us? Also Moshe said, this shall be seen with when Yahuwah gives you meat to eat in the Erev, and in the Boker bread to the full, for Yahuwah hears your complaints which you make against him. And what are we? Your complaints are not against us, but against Yahuwah. Then Moshe spoke to Aharon, say to all the congregation of the children of Israel, come near before Yahuwah, for he has heard your complaints. Now it came to pass as Aaron spoke to the whole congregation of the children of Israel, that they looked toward the wilderness, and behold, the glory of Yahuwah appeared in the cloud. And Yahuwah spoke to Moshe, saying, I've heard the complaints of the children of Israel. We're going to skip. Let's skip. No, we got to keep going. Speak to them, saying, at twilight you shall eat meat, and in the Boker you shall be filled with bread, and you shall know that I am Yahuwah your Elohim. Let's see what I can skip here. No, let's just read through it. We got this. So the children of Israel saw it, and they said to one another, what is it? For they did not know what it was. And Moshe said to them, this is the bread which Yahuwah has given you to eat. This is the thing which Yahuwah has commanded. Let every man gather it according to each one's need, 1 omer for each person, according to the number of persons. Let every man take for those who are in his tent. Then the children of Israel did so, and gathered some more, some less. So when they measured it by omers, he who gathered much had nothing left over, and he who gathered little had no lack. You will lack nothing. Every man had gathered according to each one's need. And Moshe said, let no one leave any till Boker. Notwithstanding, they did not heed Moshe, but some of them left part of it until Boker, and it bred worms and stank. And Moshe was angry with them, so they gathered it every Boker, every man according to his need. And when the sun became hot, it melted. And so it was on the 6th day that they gathered twice as much bread, 2 omers for each. And all the rulers of the congregation came and told Moshe. Then he said to them, now look at this. This is what Yahuwah has said. Tomorrow is a holy Shabbat to Yahuwah. So Yahuwah showed our ancestors the Shabbat, and wow, didn't mention nothing about the moon, didn't have nothing to do with the moon, did it? A matter of fact, the way he had to teach them what day Shabbat was by raining manna down on them, is by food, by knowing when to gather the food, and when it had zero to do with the moon. Zero. So I don't get where this is coming from. It's very clear. Matter of fact, Yahuwah is amazing. I think the Most High saw this coming. So he made sure to make it clear in the Torah. Every time he dealt with the moon, it was always not associated with the Shabbat or the days of the week. He always made it 2 different things. The way he taught Shabbat to our ancestors was through food gathering. It had nothing to do with looking at this, looking at, oh man, you know, the Enochian sun shining here and all this type of stuff. It had nothing to do with that. He showed them what day the Shabbat was by telling them on this day you don't gather. These 6 days you gather manna, on that day you don't. That's how they knew what the Shabbat was. That's it. Case closed. Let's go to Exodus 15. Shemot 15. We're going to start with verse 22. Let me know when y'all there. So Moshe brought Israel from the Red Sea. Then they went out into the wilderness of Shur. So this is when they just got out of the Red Sea. And that's when they had the praise and worship session. This is Exodus 15. They had the praise and worship session. This is right after that. And they went 3 days in the wilderness and found no water. Now when they came to Marah, they could not drink the waters of Marah, for they were bitter. Therefore the name of it was called Marah. And the people complained against Moshe, saying, what shall we drink? So he cried out to Yahuwah, and Yahuwah showed him a tree. What? That's probably etz. That's a branch. I mean, Moshe, he's not throwing a whole tree in the water, is he? That's probably the word etz, which means branch. It can mean tree or branch, but you got to look at the context. It was probably a branch. Yeah. So he cried out to Yahuwah, and Yahuwah showed him a tree. When he cast it into the waters were made sweet. I submit that symbolizes all those lineages that were cut off from Egypt that they just left and praised the Most High for. He threw that branch in the water just like Yahuwah threw them Mitzrites in the water. Made the water sweet. That was sweet to the soul, watching the vengeance on the nations. Isn't that what the Egyptians tried to do to Israel? Why do you think the Egyptians wanted to throw all the male babies in the water? They were trying to break the branches of Israel. They were trying to cut off the lineages of Israel. See, y'all, this is way more above and beyond individuals. This is about bloodlines, man. They were trying to cut the seed of Israel off, man. And the Most High did it to them. So he cried out to Yahuwah, and Yahuwah showed him a tree. When he cast it into the waters were made sweet. There he made a statute and an ordinance for them. And there he tested them and said, if you diligently heed the voice of Yahuwah your Eluah, and do what is right in his sight, give ear to his commandments, and keep all his statutes, I will put none of the diseases on you which I have brought on the Mitzrites. This is about a move. This is about being a pillar. Being secured in Yahusha from all the chaos that are going on around you. All the plagues, the diseases. For I am Yahuwah who heals you. Then they came to Elim, where there were 12 wells of water and 70 palm trees. So they camped there by the water. He provided for them, y'all. 12 wells of water. We talked about that. You know, that probably symbolized the nation, the 12 tribes of Israel. You know, the wells of water, the 70 palm trees, that's the nations. The number 70, there's 70 nations in the scriptures. You got in Genesis 11, yeah. So 70 is always about the nations. So that lines up with what we've been talking about the branches, the trees, and what it all refers to. And he took a branch and he threw it in the water. Go to chapter 16. No, go to 17, verse 1. Y'all there? Then all the congregation of the children of Israel set out on their journey from the wilderness of Sin, according to the commandment of Yahuwah, and camped in Rephidim. But there was no, again, Most High testing, man. There was no water for the people to drink. The test came back around, didn't it? Because they failed it the last time. Therefore the people contended with Moshe and said, give us water that we may drink. They was giving Moshe a hard time. So Moshe said to them, why do you contend with me? Why do you tempt Yahuwah? And the people thirsted there for water, and the people complained against Moshe and said, why is it you have brought us up out of Egypt to kill us and our children and our livestock with thirst? So Moshe cried out to Yahuwah, saying, what shall I do with this people? They are almost ready to stone me. And Yahuwah said to Moshe, go on before the people and take with you some of the elders. Take some of the Zakim. Also take in your hand your rod with which you struck the river, and go. Behold, I will stand before you there on the rock in Oreb. You shall strike the rock, and water will come out of it that people may drink. And Moshe did so in the sight of the elders of Israel. So he called the name of the place Massa and Meribah, because of the contention of the children of Israel. And because they tempted Yahuwah, saying, is Yahuwah among us or not? Y'all see how they was moving? Wow, man. So what I want to show y'all is that the Most High will purposely take stuff from you to humble you, to test you, and to humble you. And he will afflict you, and it's to humble you. That's why fasting is actually is associated with afflicting your soul. That's why in the Torah, when it talks about Yom Kippur, it says on that day you are to afflict your soul. I don't specifically say to fast, but it's talking about fasting. That's because fasting, every Israelite knew that's the best way to afflict your soul is to fast. Is to take away, keep yourself from eating, drinking, things like that. That's the way to afflict your soul. That's your nefesh. What is your nefesh? That's your desires, your appetites. So to afflict your soul is to not feed that appetite, those desires. That's why every Israelite knew this. That's why all throughout history, Yom Kippur, fasted. They didn't do nothing else. He fasted. I bring that out on purpose because you'll hear stuff on that too. You hear people be like, oh, no, we don't fast. They don't say that. It's just say you just got to afflict your soul. So what do you do? What do you do then? Oh, well, what do you do? We just lay down, we afflict, we just sad. We afflict our soul. Like, nah. The way to afflict your soul is to fast. Because you are afflicting literally your nefesh. Your nefesh. We have a fast coming up.